full screen. Just it won't let me do it.
All right. We are back with another episode of the Move Well podcast, and it's an exciting day because it's not just boring Logan, Kevin, and Wade. We have a guest on today, and we're excited for him to share his knowledge today and give us some insight into the things that he does as a leader, as an operator in a business sector, and it's just a different approach and a different take on the things that we do here at MoveWell. And what's exciting about being at a new office and being in a new space is that I think we kind of talked about this last time, Kevin, but just like being around other people again, not just the MoveWell staff, which is great, but being around people that operate in other businesses, that do other things for a living. It just gives us a different, it also allows us to bring them on and share their knowledge. So I'm excited for that today. Before we get started, though, as you all know, we had a lot of really cool, exciting business updates. So, Kevin, give us a little spiel.
Yeah. So you may have heard we're doing executive wellness now. So if you are a leader, a business leader listening to this podcast, and maybe you've wanted the opportunity to work with MoveWell, but maybe it wasn't appropriate for your whole company to utilize MoveWell yet, you can now use it for yourself. So if you're interested, reach out. You can send us a message on social media, info@movewell.com. Go to our website, movewell.com. But basically, you have access to a team of professionals. MoveWell was kind of born out of my experience in professional sports and my business partner, Wade Weatherholt, his experience in industry of bringing those resources that professional athletes have to the workplace. So you will have a team of physical therapists, dietitians, personal trainers, working together to help you with your goals, help you accomplish what you're trying to get out of life, and then hold you accountable. And obviously, if you're looking for MoveWell for your company, looking to optimize your workforce, we are taking on new clients. I would love to talk to you about that as well. You can reach out to us in the same way. But it's going to be a big year. We're only opening up 12 spots for the executive wellness to kind of launch. And we've already got 4 filled. So there's only 8 left. So send us a message.
Yeah, which honestly, it's been really cool to see how fast people have jumped on it. We
just announced it a week and a half ago.
Yeah. And again, MoveWell has always been just business to business since it's been created. How can I use MoveWell? Can I use you all to train me for this or that? So whether it's like Kevin said, anything wellness related, obviously people think of fitness when they think wellness, but there's a lot of other components to it. So like, could you touch on that like super quick as well? Other parts of the executive wellness program?
One of the cool things is one of our lead coaches also has a degree in theology and offers spiritual direction. If you are a leader and you felt the pressure of work stress and all the stuff that we're probably going to talk about today that impacts leaders negatively, there's a lot of stuff that can impact our health and performance that aren't physical, right? And so part of that is just kind of getting spiritual direction. If you're having trouble figuring out, what's my purpose? Why am I doing all this? Like, I'm working 60 hours a week. I'm stressed. I'm running all over the place. I'm having trouble just balancing all that stress. That's part of our program. We can work with you and counsel you through that, which is really cool. But also, a variety of other performance things, like you mentioned, maybe you wanted to do a half marathon. You've never been able to, didn't know where to start, what to do. We can help you with that. It really, if you want to lose weight, if you have chronic disease you're managing, if you have diabetes, you have hypertension, a lot of leaders have hypertension, high blood pressure, because we're stressed all the time. We can create a plan for you that works and makes sense. And that way you can to lead at your best. And that's why I'm excited about talking to John today. Because our mission statement now is bringing leaders to life. And what a great guest to talk about that stuff. But when you're healthy, when you're spiritually fed, you are just a different leader, and your whole organization, not only your organization, but your family, all those in your circle are going to positively feed off of that. And so we just want to come alongside and help people thrive. We want to show the world what's possible. We believe when people are living into their full potential, we can greatly impact our communities, our organizations. And so really whatever it is that you need as an individual, as a leader, we can create a plan for you and hold you accountable and kind of be alongside you in that journey.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're super excited about that, and it's a new arm of the business basically. And I'm excited for and again, like Kevin kind of referenced, Tyler, who's going to be kind of leading the charge of this from like the communication and coaching aspect of it, is just an amazing person. Anyway, he's he's married, has kids, he has a lot of perspective, so I think it'll be good. But now that we have our plug in for our new executive wellness program, let's welcome to the Move Well podcast, Mr. John Gregory. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm glad that you asked me, and even more glad that you guys are now close by. So when I heard that you all were moving in, I was excited, and always excited for what you guys are doing. So I'm just honored to be here and be chatting with you guys for a while.
Yeah, we're excited too, man. We appreciate you coming on too. I know it's you're busy and you have a lot of things going on, but kind of like I said, it's so nice to be in this new space, and it's different from the old Move Well office for sure, but it's really nice to be in a place where we're just connected with people, and we're, and Kevin and I have made the joke, like sometimes we maybe like find somebody out in the hallway and we're talking to them for like 30 minutes and we're like, oh man, it pulls us away. But like, that's what builds the connections and like builds people up and helps us build ourselves up. And we just make new connections, and being able to bring people on the podcast at much more leisure has been very applicable since we moved into this new space. So I appreciate you coming on. But before we start, John, I would love for you to just give a brief description, intro. Who is John Gregory? Kind of a brief background of who you are, and then also what you're doing now.
Okay, yeah. So I'm now working with the Kentucky Center for Leadership, executive director as of a few weeks ago. So I just moved into this space recently, but for the past 20 years, I've been in the manufacturing realm, about 25 off and on a little bit, but my passion has been developing people. I went to Western, got a degree in human resource management, and since then I've always kind of worked in and out of that field. With of course, Kevin and I worked years ago together when I was environmental health and safety. So did that for quite a while, but I've been on the HR side, and most recently the training and development side. And even in this new position with the Kentucky Center for Leadership, it's unique. It's different because I've spent years just being in a setting where I'm around a lot of people, and you work in, especially manufacturing, people have needs, right? They've got needs in their job, and so I've always kind of worked on that side. How can I serve in that capacity? And a lot of those have been management and leadership opportunities, but this role is a little bit different because what I'm probably most passionate about is developing people. And of course, you can look at it from spiritual sense. It's kind of one helps develop the other in the way that we serve people. But in the actual day-to-day experience too, it's where's opportunity to help develop people. And so this, with the Kentucky Center for Leadership, when it came about, it was to really, I think, use tools that I've been working on for a while, and in ways I've been trying to develop, I guess, myself for a while. To now we can use that for, reach out for a bigger audience and to serve more people around this region, hopefully beyond that too. But so it's a new role, but I'm excited to be in it and excited to get the opportunity to do things like this, to work with you guys. Cause like you said, it's like my first day here with Center for Leadership was, as I started kind of working through some emails and stuff, it's like I met one person and lead to meeting another person and lead to meeting another person. And that's how the connection goes. Yeah. And so it's pretty cool.
I think it's so cool. Like, so John mentioned he's in manufacturing for 20 years. Like, so I started working in this field in 2010, and John was one of the first people that I worked with. We weren't working. I was a contractor coming in and doing work for him, and I probably did a terrible job, by the way.
No, we still use Kevin's stuff.
Because I was just learning, and I always appreciated John was always so patient with me, and as I was kind of, it's one of those deals, like I had the training, but I didn't know what I was doing, if that makes sense. You kind of start in the work world, and it's like, okay, I learned this stuff, but now I've got to actually apply it. And I was always just so appreciative, John, of like you acted like you thought you knew what I was talking about, even though I didn't, probably, which made me feel good. Like, gave me confidence. Like, wow, this guy believes in me. He trusts me to go out on the floor and help them with ergonomic stuff and all these things that I was kind of still learning at the time. And then ever since then, it's just been cool. Like, I have this quote on the board that I've been obsessed with lately. It's Steve Jobs. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. And so through starting MoveWell, I mean, John was one of the people that, I was reaching out to a lot. He was, in fact, my first ever podcast guest. We were just talking about it. I called him on the phone. I didn't realize
who was your first
guest. I figured out a way to recorded it through the phone audio. And it was probably terrible, but again, John said, sure, I'll get on and do it.
Kevin was a lot better than I was.
So I appreciated that, but it was cool. But at the same time, John was really developing all the stuff now that he's putting into practice. And we've been kind of just feeding into each other for the last, especially 5 years, I'd say, kind of figuring out, kind of our next path, our next move, but both with the common goal of like, we want to invest in people. We want to build up people. And so we're taking different approaches to that, but it's cool, the synergies that we have kind of between the two, just passions that we have. But then what gets even cooler, and this is one of those things that was one of the deciding factors, Logan, of us coming here. I told you this, John, is I was deciding on should we move the spaces and all the stuff, and then I was just, John, I was praying on that. I was stressing over it. We looked at some other offices. Logan and Nevaeh came, and we were looking like, could this spot be the best fit? And there was a couple other offices that just really looked cool. They were downtown and all that kind of stuff. And I was I really felt pulled to here, and I was just like, I feel like this is where we're supposed to be. But I was still, I don't know why, just like that fear and that reluctance. And then John texts me and says, hey, I'm starting on January 5th or whatever your first day was. I'm going to be over the innovation campus. And literally that, like within 2 hours, I texted or called the director here. I was like, we're going to move. Because I just felt like it was like one of those connect the dots looking backwards moments. Like, okay. Like, cause I was praying for like some guidance and some answers and stuff. And then I was just like, wow, this makes too much sense for us to all be in the same spot working together. Yeah. And that's cool to have you back on the podcast. A little bit more, we still don't know what we're doing, but a little bit better setup this time than the phone back in the day. That's for sure. Yeah. So,
well, you brought up a really good point when, when we first met. I mean, we were both green in what we were doing. And, but I think it's, when we talk about the importance of connection, it's like you realize immediately, it's like, man, I like this guy. I think I can trust what he's telling me. I can trust what he's about. I can trust the character behind him. And Kevin, obviously, felt that way. And because then after that, every time I needed something, it's like, hey, Kevin, and he would come out and we would look at stuff, talk about stuff. And then from there, I think just the connection stayed. I mean, every so many months we would, hey man, how are you doing? How's family? How are the family and the kids? And then how's career going? At the same time too, I mean, we were both like, hey, we're passionate about similar type things, just in a little bit different sector, but it was cool because we always had that connection. And then going back to what you said with, I mean, literally that you just popped in my mind that day. It's like, oh, hey, Kevin, how's it going? He's like, you're like, oh, we're trying to decide what we're going to do. Yeah. Like, well, come on out here, man. It'd be cool to have a neighbor that I know. Yeah. So it seemed like it all worked out. Yeah. I'm glad it did.
Yeah. I was 24 years old back when I started.
That's crazy.
I was Nevaeh's. How old are you, Nevaeh?
Gosh, Nevaeh is not
22. Okay.
Nevaeh is 22. Oh my gosh. We got to point that out real quick too, because I almost feel like
I know
you're in a room and everybody's staring at you because I don't have my computer and my switcher in front of me.
You feel naked right now?
Yeah, I feel naked right now. I was going to say that, but I was like, well, keep it PG. But yeah, Nevaeh is controlling the switcher for us, which is nice.
And we still have a fourth mic input available.
Yeah.
So one of these days,
we're going to ease her into
Nevaeh is going to have her own mic. We're
a camera.
And a camera. We're working on it. Yeah. So
if you mic'd up, I won't even know it.
But we'll see.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, it's just cool. So I'm excited about the conversation. I'm excited about stuff that you're doing now, John, but even the stuff that you developed with Edifier and all that stuff. I can't wait to dig into it today.
Yeah.
I know I probably cut you off on your intro, what you were doing and stuff, but anything else to I don't know if we talked about the Kentucky Leadership for Development yet and all that kind of stuff. So
no, I mean, we with the Kentucky Center for Leadership, I mean, we go by the kind of the acronym KC4L, right? It makes it a little easier than going through all the long name, but we started, it started years ago. I think there's some couple people with Western that were really focused on, developing leaders, and then the way it was, the way I was taught and kind of learned how it all came about was eventually, I mean, they, some things happened, and that changed, that dynamic changed. One of them passed away, and one of them could no longer had the capability to be able to do it the same way. So they had a pretty good um, group of people on their board, and they're like, hey, we need to bring maybe some new energy, some new vision. So the way I understand, Greg Coker came along, and Greg's a leadership development guy, good guy, and he's our president, CEO, but was to really make Kentucky Center for Leadership, where we're not just doing events, right? We're not just we're doing a training class. It's about having an experience, whether it's our annual summit or we're doing quarterly leadership luncheons and so many more things we want to do. But it's about and I think the same way. It's when you come to an event, like, you're not coming just to get inspired, then you go back to work, right? We've all see how that model happens, but it's to come and get, for one, like, think differently, and then leave with, these are some tools that I can use at work, I can use in family, I can use in life. And I think that's what we hope, is that we'll be that catalyst for leadership experiences, because our goal is develop next level leadership. And looking at the number of different areas around here, between city government, manufacturing, of course, is huge, but healthcare, education, all those. I mean, we're looking at it as like, well, we're not fully focused, in this one corner of the community or the region. We're not just focused on this particular area, but it's like, how do we develop up better leaders who are going to lead to having a better city and a better state, and beyond that, people are going to lead better at the ballpark, or lead better when they go pick up their kids, or lead better when they go to a social function or a church gathering, whatever that may be, that they are more influential for the right reasons. And so we're just hoping to be, a resource to help pour into that, right? Like you said, invest in people. I mean, that's what we want to be. Invest in people. They have an experience that they remember, that's going to help change who they are as a leader.
Yeah.
Love that. So John, so the Kentucky Center for Leadership, what are some of, like, the specific services that you all offer, just to give people more context, on, whether it's, like, if it's certain programs or, like, one-off things, and like you said, it's not just events. So I'd love for you to elaborate on that a little bit too, and then we could dive further.
Sure. Yeah. So some of the things we do, like the annual summit, we have that once a year. We bring in speakers. Last year was the first year I got to go to, but we had Court Stevens, who works with the Warren County Public Library, and great speaker. We had Steve Basham, who was he was a general, right? And so he spoke, and then we had a husband and wife. The Nooses, Adam, he was from Western, right? But now he's working for the Titans.
Yeah.
So they came, and it was pretty neat seeing them speak. And of course, she's a business owner, and we had a couple others that were involved with that. But so we have that leadership luncheons. We had Renee Shaw that came. She was another Western alumni, but working for KET. So she brought a different dynamic to that speaking. But other things we're looking to do. I mean, right now, my former employer, we're doing a customized leadership development program. It's called Lead from Your Seat, which basically is, you've got influence no matter where you sit, right? Whether it's you're leading a team, or you're trying to influence the person sitting across the aisle from you, or maybe that person in another department that you work with, and you're like, gosh, I wish I could influence them, and maybe we could work together better. So you're hoping to. I heard this analogy one time when it was talking about Jesus. We should be close enough to him, right? That we are kind of covered in the dust of our rabbi, right? So where your influence is strong enough, where it rubs off on other people, that we're like, I want to be around that person more because they're teaching me, they're pouring into me. But with the Kentucky Center for Leadership, with this customized program we're doing, we're looking at doing. We're doing training classes, but also too, we're doing following up with leadership coaching, giving everybody a chance to be coached and go from being, unstuck to now let me get to where I want to get to. Sorry, you go. But some other things we can do too. So we've got cooperative memberships. So the way we with this cooperative model, it's that groups that join and help us, because we're nonprofit, but groups that join and help us, we want to, in turn support them by, we can do certain things like when we do training experiences, we can do it at a discounted rate. We can come into your company if you need coaching, right? A lot of the people on our board, they're leadership development types of people, or they're running organizations. So they believe in the power of raising, a good team and raising leaders from within. But we can do, whether it's training experiences or coaching or CEO roundtables. We're looking at maybe even doing a plant manager roundtable, trying to get people together and let them talk about, this is what I'm dealing with. Lead them through discussions on strategic planning, or how do you, deal with generations in the workplace, right? Because that's such a hot topic. So anything that a company needs where we can maybe help and say, hey, we've got a resource for that. We've got a coach that can help you here. We've got somebody that teaches this type of curriculum or has this instrument that we can use to help your company. We're here to do that. But I mean, it really is focused on how do we help your company raise up your next level leaders.
So it seems like the focus has gone from seems like Kentucky Leadership for Development. It was more of like an event focused entity. And now, while you all are still going to maintain that and probably grow those and enhance those, it's like, now we're going to come alongside you. Is that like kind of a newer part of it, like the customized programs you're talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Greg, he says this a lot. He says, we don't just want to have events. We want to create experiences. Mm-hmm. So we want you to leave with something that you remember. But yeah, we can, we're working with, different chamber of commerces on this. We're working with specific companies on this. If there's a civic organization that says, hey, we're kind of at a point where, our people aren't really working together well, and we need some additional help. We can say, well, what do you need? How can we help? How can we serve in that way? So right now it's pretty open, but we've got, so we our first cooperative member was Houchins, right? Mm-hmm. We know the impact that Houchins has here and in a lot of other states too. Great group of people. And then Graves Gilbert. Graves Gilbert's another one that's a cooperative member. And then the third one that came on was, Cabelco Aluminum Automotive Products, where I worked for 14 years. And at the same time that I was in talks with the Kentucky Center for Leadership, I just out of the clear blue, our HR manager, she's like, we want a leadership development program for 2026. This is our year to kind of put some focus there. And I was like, I think I know a group that can help. And of course, it was going to my mind. And it all transpired pretty quick. But it was one of those things, kind of like we were talking about us all moving down here at the Innovation Campus. It all kind of worked together and fell into place really, really well. So now we've got a customized training program where we're pulling in people that maybe haven't had a lot of development, right? They're in class with their peers and their coworkers and their leaders. Yeah. And we're all talking about the same things. And we're trying to just, develop each other. And one thing I've seen from years of teaching classes is the more you can get people together, right? Especially if they don't know each other, you build a sense of connection and camaraderie where even when the class is over, when I hear people talking about class and talking about what they learned or what they talked about, that stuff matters. Yeah. Because then people actually become a little bit friendlier at work. They become, kinder, because it's like, we just got the connection of being in class together where it wasn't deep and heavy and I didn't feel overwhelmed, but it's like, we talked about some things, we did some activities, we bounce ideas off each other. So it makes it where it's more of an experience than it is just going through, another training class.
Yeah. Do you feel like, cause I think it's just working at a smaller company at MoveWell, you have the blessing of being around your coworkers and your peers all day long, pretty much, so do you feel like this, I'm sure anybody can benefit from this, obviously, but where do you find is like the niche of maybe number of employees that really benefit from this the most, or that maybe that request this the most, like these leadership trainings and just the connection of your coworkers? Like, is it the larger groups?
It just depends really, because there's sometimes I've seen where companies are like, hey, we've had maybe people in leadership roles and they didn't get along, right? You hear that, that silo mentality, but well, it's we sit right across, the hall from each other or whatever, but it's like our departments don't get along. Sometimes you see it from a big picture. I think in manufacturing you do. Where I worked, we started seeing a change over the past couple of years to where it was a little bit more cohesive group. Now, for other companies, I heard of one group that, I mean, it's a group of people working for the city, and they're like, we could use some help because even though we work together and we go through meetings and discussions on things, I mean, it's still like where there's friction, or maybe they're getting stuck in old patterns.
Mm.
So it really just depends. I think I've seen probably from companies that are wanting to kind of develop their next level of leaders, whether it's from that supervisor or mid-level management. A lot of times it's smaller groups, like let's get everybody on the same page. But then again, sometimes you see it's like, well, we want to expand this beyond the whole company. I work with one company. I do monthly training for them, and they're like, we've got our leadership group we're focused on, but then we've got everyone else. And they've got around 100 employees, so they've got around 75 employees that are not in their management group. And they're like, we want them to have all the same trainings too, right? Because what I'm talking with their leadership, we're sprinkling a little bit of that on their other classes. But now they're like, we still got some gaps. We still got where it's kind of that us versus them mentality. We hear that a lot, in industry. But this year, I mean, some of our classes, we're going to put everybody together. It's like, let's see how this goes, not us versus them. It's like, let's put you on class together, going through scenarios together, talking about situations together. So it really just depends on what that company is looking for, what their vision is. And then we can come in and try to help customize some things based on what we can do.
We always refer to our workforce, our small team, as a team, right? We intentionally don't say family. I don't know if that's good or bad. That's just our approach. Maybe it's just because I'm a sports person. But our approach is families. You kind of just put up with you put up with everybody's mess, right? Like, because you have to, because they're family. Our approach here is like, no, we're a team. Like, we want the best person in the lineup that needs to be there. And if you can't get it together, then like we need to get somebody else that can. But we're also going to love and respect each other and do all the things that great teams do. But I'm upset. I'm almost obsessed with chemistry. And when I used to coach baseball, or even played baseball, and you're a sports guy, like, when you're on a team, and if you're listening to this, like, what I'm talking about, if you played sports, like, there's teams that, man, it's just like we all get along. It's like electric. Like, somebody does something, like makes a big play, then the next person does, and you can like feel it's like a entity that's alive and breathing. Like, you can feel it, and then you can also feel it when it's really, really bad too, right? And I know there's research that's gone into this, and how do we create that, how to repeat that? But sometimes you kind of just get lucky. I feel like there's just like this magic. I feel like we have that at MoveWell.
Yeah.
And I think it's having the right people on the team, and I think it goes back to, like, if you have a bad apple, not just putting up with it and accepting it forever. Like, obviously, first you got to have a conversation with that person. You got to see where they're coming from and listen to them. But eventually, if they just cannot get on the same page, and like, you just can't be with us on the journey. But like, from your experience, like, what creates, and it doesn't matter if it's sports, if it's industry, if it's at a bank, if it's whatever, teams are teams. So groups of people are groups of people. And sometimes you have something that clicks, and sometimes you have something that doesn't. But like, what from your experience makes that chemistry thing work really well? Like, what are the root, I'm asking this for myself because I'm just super interested. Like, what are the main things that have to happen to enable a team that has that great chemistry and that great work ethic and that positive energy and all the stuff? Like, where does that start?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because there is a ton of things out there on what makes a team, what motivates them, what makes them perform and do all that. A lot can be said about the coach, but then again, too, if the coach doesn't know what each player is good at, right, and what they want to do, I'm a big believer. There's all kinds of personality assessments out there between Myers-Briggs and DISC and 6 Types of Working Genius is a newer one that we've been teaching. But I think, for one, you have to know, like, how is each person wired for one, like how do they think, right? How do they think, and how do they like to be communicated to? How do you, which in turn is how do you motivate them? But also too, it's not just their personality, but how do they do their work the best? What do they like doing? When I recently was teaching on the 6 types of working genius, I mean, there's really 3 layers. There's a person's geniuses, right? These are the things that, like, if they work on these, they are going to be dynamic in doing this, right? If you got somebody on your team that, let's say baseball, right? Because we know we talked the baseball language before, and see Logan's got a WKU baseball shirt on here. But if you take somebody that's the shortstop of your team, okay, well, if they don't want to pitch, right, and they don't want to catch, they don't really want to be in the outfield, but they want to be in the action in the infield, but they want to play that role, and they've got the ability. Well, why not put them there, right? If they're your person, why stick them at pitcher just because you need somebody there? And I think sometimes with teams we do that. Well, I need somebody to fill this role.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this person here. This is the best of what I got.
Right.
But how long till they're going to get frustrated enough to where they're going to burn out? And next thing you know, you're basically going to have, now you got a problem.
Now you're missing a shortstop and a pitcher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, same thing with coaching kids. When you see the kids, they've got the ability to do certain things on a team. Well, let me put you over there where you can succeed. Hopefully you like doing it, for one, because you're going to do it better if you like it. But if you can succeed and get some wins every now and then, that's going to keep you motivated. But I think with teams, a lot of times, we just put people there because we need somebody there, but we don't think, well, how are they wired, right? What do they like doing? Where can they contribute the most? And I think good coaches understand that, but the good coach also understands something's changing with the team, right? The pendulum is starting to swing a different way. And you brought up a good point too, which I was thinking about it, but John Maxwell says this, he says, momentum is a leader's best friend.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you can get a team, I tell this with our kids with softball, coaching that, it's like, there for a while, you go through the phases of the storming and the norming, the performing, that whole the phases of a team. But also too, when you get the team to click, I think you know it.
Oh yeah.
You know it. And, I had kids play sports and some at a pretty competitive level, and you see when that team clicks, because then, it's everybody is firing on all cylinders on whatever role they're in. And a good coach knows when they need to keep pushing, right? Let them keep going, right? John Calipari, he always wanted like a player-driven team. Okay, but when the players start doing that, then you as a leader can step back and be like, okay, well, it's now in motion, right? We got the momentum going. What do I need to be focused on next?
Yeah.
Because when something small changes the dynamic of that team, you see it, you feel it, like you said, and you hope that you can just recover fast, or else it can throw the whole dynamic off. And if one player is not in that space where they used to be contributing, right now they're like, well, I'm down, I'm disgruntled, or I'm just not feeling this anymore. Then it's like, how long do we accept this? How long do we let this keep going? And it's hard, right?
Yeah.
I've been there plenty of times where I'm like, let's just keep somebody here because you care about them, you care about their family. But at what point do they change the dynamic in such a way that's like, this is not going to work anymore?
Yeah.
We can't move forward
because all the other people that are maybe picking up the slack, they're becoming disgruntled too.
Yeah. And they're becoming disgruntled with you as a leader. Like, why aren't you doing something? Why are you letting it happen? So
it seems like, and I know you worked in HR for a long time. You've done safety, HR, leadership, compliance. Any other ones that I'm leaving out?
There might be a few in between, but you got the big four right there.
And so your whole career though, all of those, you're dealing with people, and you're plugging in people in the right spots, moving them out of the right spots. You're dealing with personnel issues, but more specifically, when you're an HR manager, say you had to terminate somebody or remove them from a position because maybe they weren't the right fit, that dynamic change, whatever the reason is, you see it, the team sees it, when you had to do those, and those are not easy things to do. They're awful. They're terrible. And I think ultimately, what I've realized is if the person isn't the right fit, it's not good for them either, because their trajectory is not going to be great at your company. It's not good for everybody else. And maybe you're taking away opportunities from them better opportunities they could have if they weren't with you. It's a hard thing to think about that at the moment, but have you ever had to terminate or let somebody go made that hard choice and thought, man, I shouldn't have done that, um, or like I should have waited a little bit longer, or was it, man, I should have done that sooner? What it typically,
In most cases, because I typically was more on the side of, let's give them a chance, right?
Yeah.
Let's see how this works out. And it was usually of, we've done everything we can,
Yeah.
right? We've corrected, we've coached, we've monitored, we've done all the things, we've kept the records on it, and we just can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Now, but like you said, the quote you got on the board, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. There's been times where you've had to terminate someone, and again, it's not fun, right? That's the worst part of the job.
Yeah.
Was having to do that. But you look backwards, and sometimes you see those people, and you still run into them. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I needed that, right? I went to something better." You see a few examples like that, and sometimes there's those you just hope you don't run into again, right? But I think when you get to the point that you have to do that, hopefully you've done your job enough as a leader where the person knows.
And
they know that
you communicated.
Yeah, you've communicated. You've tried to help them change. You tried to point out things, and I think you get the point. You're like, we just can't do this anymore. And of course, you have plenty of those where it's like there's a blatant violation.
Yeah, of course.
I've had those where person's denying, and it's like, well, wait a minute, we've already pulled records, and like how much longer are you going to deny this? But sometimes you have those, and those are easier, right? Because had a guy that I was with a good leader and kind of mentor to me, but he really was good at terminations and things like that. When it's no longer time for a person to be on a team. And he was good. If you ever seen the movie Moneyball, where it's like, well, you got to trade somebody, just make it short and fast and quick. And here's everything else you need to know. And I learned from him, how to do some of that. I still didn't enjoy it, right? It's still that dreaded thing you have to do. But I think if you're in tune enough as a leader, especially if it's somebody on your team, you've done everything you can, then you can feel a little bit better about, had to let the person go, or we had to change the team here, but it's going to give us something better in return.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you think a lot of people, I mean, we talk about this all the time on the podcast, Logan, we're uniquely designed. We have unique gifts and talents. Do you think sometimes it's easier as a leader to see those talents in people? Like, do you feel that sometimes as a leader, you can see those more or better than that people can see them themselves? Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say? Like, sometimes I feel like that, of like, man, I can see this person has this obvious gift, or they could do this, or they could be this if they would just get over their insecurities or whatever. But then getting that person to believe that about themselves is harder, or they may not even realize they have that unique ability. I don't know. I feel like a lot of leadership is just pulling out of people in an appropriate way of like, you have this gift and talent, and you need to believe in yourself, and then setting the circumstances to where they can be successful when you just kind of help them take that leap.
Yeah.
Is that, I don't know, you know this stuff a lot better than me, but like, is that a common thing of like people maybe don't realize they have this certain skill or talent, and then it's a leader's job to kind of pull that out of them, or is that just too aggressive or pushy? I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think that the leader has to have a sixth sense in that way. And I think the ones that care will see that, because with people, I mean, some are very analytical, right? Some are the drivers, some are the people, awesome team players, and everybody's probably got a little bit of mix of all of them. But I think the leader does have to look at it and say, I see something different in you. I see some potential, and hey, I want to help you get to where you want to get to. And it's not for selfish reasons, right? I want to help you get there, because I want you to be better. I think you've got a quality that's really, really good that maybe you've never seen, or maybe you've never had somebody else that's noticed it or ever pointed it out to you. There are moments when that happens, though, where the person's like, yeah, I mean, I kind of know that about myself, but nobody's really ever told me that, or I've never noticed. And you see a different level of motivation that kind of comes out of them. And it may not be immediate, but I think if you can at least say, I think you'd be really, really good at this. And a lot of times too, I think you mentioned balance as a leader earlier when you were talking about move well. How do you help you balance? But I think we have to in a lot of different ways. And one of them, if you're a person that's trying to influence others and lead a team, you got to, I think, step back and look and say, what do we need right now? Who are the people that can help us do this? Do they know that they can help us do this? And how do I show them, right? And sometimes that timing is really, really important. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and he loves to go out and kind of check up on people, right? Make sure his team is going really, really well. It's really important to him. And you can just tell he's wired like that. That's just who he is. And we were talking about it, and one of the things we discussed was the timing of it is so important, right? Because you can see somebody say, oh, by the way, I appreciate the good job you did. That's not going to matter as much if you delay and then, hours later go back and be like, oh, wait a minute, I noticed something specifically that you did. So when people know that you can start seeing the strengths that they have and quit pointing out the weaknesses and the mistakes they make. But I see something really good right here, something you're really, really good at. And then, man, people need that encouragement, right? So, Kevin, you've heard me use the word edify plenty of times, but it really is. It's about one builds up the next, and that's what you hope is, because then you become a better unit if you can do that like one person at a time. So it really is like, you have to notice that. I think with people, sometimes point out things they don't see about themselves.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things we do on our Friday meetings as a team is we just kind of have an area for shout outs, I guess.
Yeah, customer, employee.
Nevaeh steals all the headlines every week. Yeah. She just gets bragged on every week. But just to kind of like a space of like, hey, we can almost call each other out in a positive way of like, hey, thank you on a weekly basis. Like, thank you for doing this. I noticed that you did XYZ and that helped us out a lot, or and it's cool. It's just neat because normally we're just pointing out flaws. Flaws. And I was last night I was at my parents' house, and so you guys know I homeschooled growing up, and I was like the shyest homeschooler. So it shows how shy I was. And I went to this homeschool co-op in Nashville. Yeah. And I'm so thankful for that place because it's impacted me so much, even to this day. And I don't think anybody there realized, the teachers, they didn't realize probably that I was being impacted, because I was just so quiet, but I was just soaking it all in. But I was looking back at pictures. So we had like a yearbook, and I was looking back at pictures. And of course, in every picture, I'm like stone faced. Like even like the group picture, I'm not smiling,
right.
Which is so funny because I was trying to look all tough and all these things or whatever. But really what it was insecurity and fear and all that stuff. And right after that is when I started dating my wife. And I was thinking about this morning. I was like, I haven't texted her, so she's listening to this. This is your note. But I was going to send her a text like, I'm glad God gave me you because you have made me who I am.
Yeah.
Because like she was one of the first people that believed in me and like made me feel cool. That sounds weird, but like I didn't have the confidence in myself that I thought. I mean, this is just funny, but I was like, well, I'm ugly. I have red hair. I'm the only person with red hair in my family and freckles. So I got the red haired stepchild, or your dad's the mailman, all that stuff. So my whole life, I believe like I'm weird. I'm different. I'm this. And which I was like telling her, I was like, I should have been confident. Like I was 16 years old. I'm getting recruiting letters from LSU, Vanderbilt, Florida, all this stuff. And like, you would think that would give me confidence. So like, oh yeah, I'm awesome because I'm this athlete and all this stuff. But I thought so low of myself. Like I had such low self-esteem and thought, so much so that I was afraid to talk to anybody. I didn't want people to notice me. I couldn't dance in public until about 10 years ago. I was scared to death, but she was one of the first people that kind of showed me like, oh no, you're not this, you're not that. And like I started not in like an egotistical way, having like being cocky, but just like, oh, okay, I do have gifts and talents. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I never could have like talked on a podcast. I was like, I'm just looking at that person in the yearbook, and I'm like, that person now is speaking at conferences in front of like hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's probably one of the first people other than like my parents or immediate family that really believed in me and kind of pulled out that confidence. But then along the way, I mean, John, you're one of them, honestly, of like, you believed in me when I was walking into factories for the first time, didn't know what I was doing. I think about another person. I was one of our first MoveWell customers, and she was the company rep, and she just believed in me, and she made me start speaking to their company every single week and giving talks on different topics. And that's what really kind of got the confidence to start giving these speeches and doing these things.
Yeah.
But it was like, I couldn't see any of that stuff in myself. I was like, and I was telling my daughter this last night, it's like, life is weird because, now that I'm 38, I've lived more than half of my life, according to the national averages. 74 is the average age for a male. And I'm just now discovering stuff about myself. Of like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm actually good at that. I'm actually have passion for that. There's a gift or talent in this area. I never would have known that 20 years ago about myself, ever.
Yeah.
And I think being a Christian myself, personally, I believe that the Holy Spirit or God uses people to pull that out of you and to give you that confidence and tell you that you have those things. I mean, it's not like, I'm spending a lot of time reading the book of Exodus right now, and God just talking to Moses, and Moses doesn't have confidence in himself, but at least
he's insecure.
He's insecure. And he's like, so then he gives him Aaron, but at least God's telling him that he can do it. Like he's like actually talking to him. He's like, no, you can't do this.
What better person to encourage you, right?
Yeah. So it doesn't always happen that way, but I do think God gives us people and edifies us through other people. And I think that's powerful. And I love the whole concept you've come up with edifying and edifier, the business that you had and still have, I guess. It's just so awesome.
Yeah. Well, what you said, I mean, I think everybody, I mean, we all have our things that we're insecure about, whether we ever tell anybody or not. Right. But with what you said with, growing up, you're quiet, you're homeschooled, we homeschooled up until last year. And so I think what you realize too is that everybody's got their things, talking about, working with a team, right? Working with people is when we see like kind of weird things pop up or awkward things pop up. I mean, it doesn't mean that person's just difficult. It means that maybe there's something that's just, they got an insecurity somewhere. Maybe they've been burnt in the past. Sorry for squeaking, but maybe they just been burnt. But I kind of went through the same thing when I was a younger professional, I guess. Was a boss I had. We had a team of people, right? And they were all more experienced than I was. And he had us go through Strengths Finder. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Strength. Gallup created Strengths Finder. Yeah. And it was supposed, it's like these, you read the book and then it's kind of a free assessment you take and you find out what your top strengths are. And man, others had like these cool ones. Like one guy, his was strategy. He was a strategist. I was like, well, I mean, that sounds pretty cool. Right. And then others, I might have some kind of cool adjective describing it. Mine was positivity. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm like the care bear of the group, but at that time too, I was really working with some experienced people. I was like, gosh, man, they are better at doing certain things than I am. And I'm weak in these areas. And it wasn't until the same guy that had us do this, I was like, man, he's probably like, when's this dude going to come out of his shell, right? Talking about me. Well, finally, he could tell I was getting frustrated. I was working on all my weaknesses. I mean, just frustrated, like, how to get to where I can speak better, make decisions faster, do all these things. But he told me, he's like, you are who you are, right? Quit trying to work on everything you're not. I mean, the positivity side of me, I've always kind of been that type of person. And it really kind of throws me out of character when I am not that person. But I started realizing it's like, well, instead of using that as, man, this is my weakness, right? Maybe I just need to like keep working on that, keep using that. How am I going to use that, for people? And you mentioned something too, how old, 38 now? Yeah. So there's a really cool thing. Patrick Lencioni that did the 6 types of working genius also did the ideal team player and 5 dysfunctions of a team. And pretty famous guy with what he does. But an ideal team player, he talks about that our intelligence in our first 40 years is very fluid. And I use this example in different classes, but it's like, man, we're moving so fast. We're raising a family, right? We're starting a career. We're maybe going from one job to the next, finding what we like to do, what we want to do, and we're trying to climb the ladder and all the things. And it just seems busy, and it seems like it's changing so rapidly. But he says that, when you hit about that midpoint around 40 years, that your intelligence becomes crystallized. It's now, instead of this absorbing so fast, now I'm using it. It's crystallized to the point I'm like, well, how do I want to use that? How do I want to teach somebody else how to use that? How do I take what I know and now pass it on? Which I think goes back to the edifying part. How do I do it? Not just because like I want somebody to take my spot so I can move on to bigger and better things, but I want to pass this on in a way. This is a knowledge I got. These are some things I've learned, the good and the bad and the ugly, all the things. How can I teach somebody else that where they can do it a little bit better? So you're passing it on. And it's a neat thing, because with our intelligence, it becomes more solid to the point. I mean, I guess that's where wisdom comes in.
Yeah.
It becomes more solid. I mean, let's look at the example of Moses, right? I mean, he's raised as one of Pharaoh's, kids, kind of, and then, I mean, he slays one of the people there, and he's running for his life, becomes a shepherd. It goes back to things that he probably grew out of, right? And God's teaching him. He's like, you're my guy. I'm going to use you. The things that you don't have, like you said, I'm going to put Aaron here. I'm going to put Jethro. I'm going to put other people here to help you when you need it. But that's why we shouldn't ever neglect when people are put in our lives just for a season. They may be there for a season, and you may not see them for several years, and they come back around, right? That happens too. But that's what we were talking about from the beginning, is having that connection with people. That, because there's times you need them back in your life, or you need to go to them about something, or you need their advice. And I got a lot of people that I do that with, and of course you're one of them too, right? Hey, Kevin, tell me what you think. I'll throw an idea by you, right, just to get your opinion. But that's when it becomes more crystallized. It's like, instead of me trying to figure all this out, who can I go to? Who can help me with this particular thing? And I think that's how we activate our leadership a little bit more, is how can I do this differently than I did before? What have I learned, and how can I approach this differently this time?
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
I love that. I think it's a good way to kind of reiterate and wrap up, like, pretty much everything that you do, John, and the things that Kevin and Wade are obviously always trying to improve upon, as well as like just developing the people in your workplace. And I think sometimes maybe it's hard to do that internally. And a lot of the stuff that you said, John, like kind of reiterates that as well. It's like you're around somebody for so long, maybe you see certain things in them, and then vice versa. They see certain things in you, or people focus so much on their weaknesses, and that's all they focus on. But it's like, no, I just want you to be good at what you're good at. So I think that is really powerful, and sometimes it's hard to be able to recognize that internally. So if there's anything that you want to like plug in to close out with, that you could really help people on, and then like where people could find you or contact you too, I think would be good.
Sure. Yeah. Well, again, man, it's just been an honor to be with you guys and talk about it. I love talking about this type of stuff.
I've got probably at least another hour of questions, Logan, but I purposely cut myself off. So we're gonna
have to have a part 2 with John.
Oh, I know. I love this stuff. We were just getting to the good stuff, I feel like.
Yeah. So. Well, for one, of course, with the Kentucky Center for Leadership, right? We're there to help, right? If you want to learn, how can I develop better as a leader? How can I develop my people better? We're here to help. Our website is kc4l.org. And so we can be found there. There's a contact page. We're working on redoing the website and some of our social media things. That's kind of on our radar to do, but that's a good way to contact us. But, my email is john@kc4l.org. And then phone number, I'll just put that out there, 270-438-17. Love hearing about, what a company wants to do or somebody wants to do. And if there's an opportunity where we can help in that way, we'll be glad to at least have the discussion. Right. And then we've got just a lot of work, a lot of things we're trying to build, but hopefully are good things. We've got a good group of people. We've got on our board, but also a good group of people down the hall, right? That we can talk
Yeah.
with and work with that can do great things. And then, at some point, Kevin, you brought up Edifier, right? That
Yeah.
was something I developed a while back, and it probably developed it in a church setting, but I've used it probably more on the leadership side because I have a leadership version of it. But it's really about seeing people differently and how do you build up those around you, right? How do you build them up to the point now they can go build up others? So it's that kind of like discipleship, but you're doing it through your influence, right? Wherever you're at, no matter where you're working or what you're doing. So that one's probably one that's been near and dear to my heart just because I totally felt like it was God started working, in my mind and my heart to let's build kind of a different curriculum that maybe we can use in some different ways.
You were operating from your strength. I mean, that's what edifying is all about, is being positive and then infusing that into other people so they can live the life they were created to live.
Right.
And then in turn, they do it to somebody else. And then you kind of start this whole movement. Right?
Absolutely. The whole ripple effect. Right.
Yeah.
But
Well, cool, man. Yeah, I know I hate to.
Let's just keep it up.
We're just gonna go.
Well, we just need to do it.
I'll stay here as long as you guys want, and I'll come back
Yeah.
as many times as you guys want. But
no, I think it'll be good. Yeah, we'll definitely have to do another episode, bring you back, and dive really deep into this.
Yeah,
you two just go at it for 3 hours and see what you can come up with. You're gonna have a business created.
Probably so. Probably so.
Over.
Yeah.
John, thanks. We appreciate you, man. I know you said you're honored to be here. We're honored to have you here, and we appreciate being able to share some space with you, and excited to connect more. But if you all are watching, we appreciate you. If you're listening, we appreciate you. And we'll catch you in the next episode. Thanks again, John.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.